Good morning, everyone. Lexi here. I felt inspired to come on this beautiful, brisk November morning as I wanted to share with you all my experience of the holidays and how I transformed a very stressful experience of holidays to one that is filled with fun and freedom and a lot of joy. So for me now, the holidays starts on my birthday, October 3rd. Because why not? I love being able to celebrate Halloween the whole month of October. And it goes all the way till my husband's birthday, January 14th. Although he's ready to put the Christmas stuff away the first week of January, I'm usually pretty persuasive in getting to keep all of my decorations and crafting stuff and all that fun stuff I love all the way out until January 14th. So I love the holidays. I know a lot of people, as soon as this time of year, everything starts to cool down here and the stores start to fill up with a lot of holiday stuff. A lot of people I hear all the time are just kind of like, ugh, not already. Why is it starting so early? And yada yada. And I get it, like the stores and the commercialism have really changed the holidays into something that we feel obligated often to participate in. But you don't have to. So when I was growing up, holidays were fun and special in some aspects, but there was this overlying tension in other aspects. And I didn't understand this as a kid. I just knew that I liked to do some things, but felt this tension and over the years, this obligation to do other things that I didn't want to do surrounding the holidays. So as I got older, when I was 17, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel disease, and it was a very emotional disease for me in that my emotions and how I felt in my life really affected my flare-ups of my health. So as you can imagine, around holiday times, I would start to take on this anxiety, this obligation, this responsibility, all this stuff I felt I had to do around the holidays, and I would have a huge ulcerative colitis flare-up. I would get sick every year, and I wouldn't have the energy or even really be able to do anything I wanted to do, as well as what I felt obligated to do. And I used to see this as just a huge upset, and it was really upsetting to me. It was really frustrating to me. But as I look back now, I see the gift in that, because what was really happening was every time I didn't want to do something, my body would respond. It would have a flare-up, which would keep me down, so I'd have to stay home, and I wouldn't have to go do that thing that I wasn't able to recognize I didn't really want to do. So how can we transform these holidays from being stressful to being fun and free? Because now I love the holiday times. And like I said, I stretch it out. I really stretch it out. So there came a point, my kids were probably around 8 and 10, when I decided that I didn't want to continue having this reoccurring pattern of holidays being stressful and anxious and filled with sickness. So I just decided one holiday, I told everyone, you know what? I'm not participating in anything, kind of cold turkey. Not getting together, I'm not doing presents, I'm not decorating, I'm not doing anything that I don't want to do. And for me, that was a really important step in breaking that cycle of obligation, responsibility, of making sure the kids have this wonderful, great experience and get to go do all of these things. So I said no to it. And on the backside of that, of course, came all the shame and the guilt and everything I had to feel through. Thankfully, my family was, very supportive and understanding. They didn't really try to make me feel guilty or ashamed for not wanting to get together. They respected that, and that was really helpful. But inside, I felt all those feelings, like I should do this, and my kids are missing out on that, and how can you just not participate? So I did that, and then as the years went on, I decided that I could add some more fun back into my holiday. I could choose to make it what I wanted it to be. So I made a list of everything that I wanted to actually do in the holidays. Didn't feel like I had to. Didn't feel like I had to for my kids, for my family. Didn't have to participate in anything that I didn't want to do. The big one for me was gift giving on Christmas. That was something that I always really struggled with because I like giving gifts and giving to people, but I don't like it being obligated to a certain day and that you have to have a certain amount of presents, you know, for everybody, or the holiday is not special. So that was the one thing that I give a few gifts to my kids, but I still don't give gifts to adults unless it really feels good to, or stuff I make. I like to make things and craft. So this list, I decided loved my birthday. My birthday month was so much fun, and I love to celebrate Halloween, my favorite holiday, all month long. So what I do is I decorate on my birthday. Everybody decorates. My family, they all buy me either a new Halloween shirt or a new Halloween decoration, because yes, I like to dress up and wear Halloween shirts all month long. It's really, really fun for me. So Halloween, I decided to make it about decorations. I decided to make it about crafting because I love crafting, and thankfully my daughter is very crafty, so she's always willing to make Halloween decorations with me every year. Pumpkin carving, my absolute favorite thing to do. Nothing will get in the way of me having to carve pumpkins. I love it, love it, love it. It's so creative. Making costumes, we love dressing up. And although I don't always have time to dress myself up, I loved making the kids' costumes and dressing them up and doing that whole experience with them. So I skipped out on like Halloween parties. I skipped out on a lot of events that we were invited to, especially kids' events, because I wanted to have the time and energy to just do what I wanted to do. I didn't want to have to get together all the time with groups of people. I wanted to spend that quality time with my kids and, like I said, just doing what I wanted to do for the holidays. And the one thing I did add in on Halloween that really felt good to me was lots and lots of candy. Now this is funny, guys, because growing up, we were taught that sugar really wasn't a good thing to eat, and we didn't have a lot of sugar around, but it was one of those things I always wanted because I saw other kids who would come to school with candy and treats and sweet things, and I always wanted to experience that without limitations. So I decided to make Halloween about candy. I decided to allow candy in as much as we want when we want. And that just lifted the whole heaviness, tension, frustration around having a digestive disease and limiting myself and not allowing myself to have candy. So I let myself have candy, which of course, when you allow yourself to have something, you realize a lot of the times you really don't want it all that much, which is good because it allowed my kids to also listen to their bodies and to understand like, hey, this isn't just like a one-time thing. We can have as much candy as we want. Maybe we don't really want so much. We want to feel good. But I made Halloween about candy, which was a big deal for me. Maybe not for some of the other people, but for me it was a huge deal. And then we go on to November. So everyone's getting ready for Thanksgiving time. There's already Christmas stuff in the store, right? I love looking at all the Christmas stuff, but I don't really buy a whole lot of it. I just like looking at it. It's just fun. So November 1st, I pull out all of my Christmas crafting stuff. I love to crochet and cross stitch. Those are my two favorite things in the world. And I have a lot of Christmas themed projects that I do. So November 1st, I put away my regular stuff and I pull out all my Christmas themed crafting stuff. Right now I'm working on my very first Afghan blanket with crochet, and it's this beautiful Christmas star with these greens and reds, this deep burgundy kind of reds and like sage greens. It's really pretty. So I do that because that brings me a lot of joy. I decided to disconnect from the need to shop, from the expectation to get together for parties, even for Thanksgiving. That was a big one for me. Thanksgiving was always kind of tense and anxious for me too, because I felt like it had to be perfect and we had to have certain food, and I had to, in my mind, being an introvert, I didn't like speaking in front of people back then. And the whole idea of sitting at the table having to give thanks for something terrified me. Like, would I say be good enough? Would it be okay? Would it be, okay to speak up in front of people? Will they tell me it's not good enough? Will they laugh at me? I mean, I put all of this pressure on myself. It was so silly. But we decided for my family that we don't really participate in Thanksgiving anyway. It just wasn't a holiday that we felt really connected to. And occasionally we'll have my parents over, or my sister will come to visit, and that's great, but we don't cook a turkey. None of us really like turkey anyway. We don't make any big fancy meal. I think one year my sister came, we did like fish tacos. It was really fun, and we just played games. So even Thanksgiving, we decided to let go of the obligatory meal and the family get together, because we just didn't want to do it every year. When it happens, and it's fun. But what we really wanted Thanksgiving to be about, just me, my husband, and my kids, was to make some meal, some yummy meal, whatever it was, always pumpkin pie. That is my one thing. I make the pumpkin pies in the family. My grandma passed that on to me, and there will always be pumpkin pie the week of Thanksgiving, even if we make nothing else. And we want to play games. We love playing games. Occasionally there'll be football on TV, but my husband usually works on actual Thanksgiving. So we just play games. We just have fun. We just do what we want to do. And then as we move on into Christmas, again, we just don't buy into all of that gift giving. If there's something that kids really want, we might purchase that. If there's something I know somebody else really, really wants and it feels good to buy it for them, I might do that. But I stick to the fun stuff. I stick to the decorating, the crafting, fun stuff for me. Of course, it's not fun for everybody to do all the crafting I do. I'm just really artsy like that. But all the good things, for the most part, I skipped the get-togethers. I skipped the groups of people, all the things that you have to do and see, because I don't like being around a lot of groups of people all the time, especially when it feels forced, or when I feel like I should do it because the kids should be able to go to these parties and have these experiences with me. I stepped back from that. One thing we do all love to do is see light displays. Love Christmas lights. My house is probably one of the most lit up houses in the neighborhood. But I've always loved Christmas lights. I've always loved that soothing glow of the colored lights since I was a little kid, going to sleep, looking at the lights hanging outside my window. So I love Christmas lights, and I take the kids around to see as many Christmas lights displays as we feel we want to see. And then on Christmas Day, we all open our presents together and we play. We make a fun breakfast. Sometimes family comes over, sometimes they don't. But we just make it fun. We don't ever do anything we don't want to do. And every year looks a little different. Some years I do feel like going to get together with other people. Some years I don't. My kids are getting older now, so they can choose to go themselves to go see friends and go to different parties and different events and things. But I take the whole obligation off of me needing to participate. I used to be really worried of what people would think if I didn't attend some of these events that I was invited to, or I didn't buy presents, or I didn't do, I don't even remember anymore what everyone does for the holidays. I've backed out of it for so long. But all the traditional things that people feel they have to do for the holidays, all the money they have to spend, that never felt good to me. I would much rather make cross stitch and crochet or art projects or other little crafty gifty things for people than go out and buy, right? I think that's what most people have the hardest time with, is the family obligation and the financial obligation. And I want to tell you guys, you can totally back out of it. You can choose not to do it. And I have people that tell me that it's really not a choice, that they really have to do it. But when you get down under that drive that's causing you to feel, there's bugs on my face, that's causing you to feel like you have to keep up with it, you can come back down to that fear. What is that fear underneath there if you don't participate? And for me, it was a lot of shame. It was shame and guilt. Like, how could you not do this for other people, how could you not, give gifts to somebody who gives a gift to you? How could you not take your kids out to experience all of these things? And I just allowed the shame and the guilt to be there. I just allowed it to be there, and I sat with it, and I told it was okay to stay, because the more I held on to that and the more I played into it, my body is so sensitive, I would get digestive upset. My intestines used to bleed every Christmas, or really starting in November, they would start to bleed because I would kind of unconsciously put the pressure on to make the holidays good, whatever that means, right? What we think we're supposed to do to make the holidays good for everyone else. So after the ulcerative colitis healed and I no longer had the disease, I actually still had mini flare-ups during the holidays. So that's something else I wanted to share, because just because you stop something that was causing your body a lot of distress doesn't necessarily mean it never comes back again, or the body doesn't have that cellular memory that kind of flares up a little bit. So for about 4 years after my disease actually healed, around the holiday times, my intestines would still bleed a little, and I would have a mini flare-up. And for those first few years, I would get really upset because I was scared. I thought the disease was coming back. There was no other explanation for it. I didn't realize how much the holiday time of year triggered for me anxiety, triggered for me the digestive stuff. Even when I was no longer playing the game of what everyone says you should do for the holidays, my body was still responding to this time of year how it always did. When the weather cooled down, when the energy around in our culture and our community started to speed up and I was slowing down. And it took a few years for my bodies to really release and release and release more and more of that old energy it held on to. And the past couple years, I've had no digestive upset during this time of year, no anxiety. I've been able to really relax into it and just be who I want to be, do what I want to do, allow other people to be who they want to be and do what they want to do, and not feel like I have to keep up with that or I have to jump in and join that. Especially for me, it was really big. I have to do this because my kids need me to do this. My kids should have all this experience, and you just don't have to do that to yourself. Your kids are fine whether they experience everything or not, because when you're an adult, you can choose the experiences you want. If you want to go to a cookie decorating party as an adult, you can do that. It's totally okay if you didn't get to do that as a kid. There's so many things as an adult you can make the choices to do and have those experiences that maybe you didn't have as a child that you wanted to have. So I let go of all of that mom guilt, let go of that family guilt, that shame, and everybody can do that. It does take some willingness to be uncomfortable at first. And I know that's the big, deep dive that a lot of us don't want to jump off that cliff, because we just don't know what's on the other side. We just don't know how others are going to react, and we don't know if we're going to be okay. But when you follow your heart and you take that step off and you're willing to leap into the unknown, it's always okay. You always come back to yourself. You always develop a deeper connection with who you are and what you want. And those people that don't resonate with you, even if they are family, they will go in their own direction. They will either shift themselves, because by you shifting, you give others permission to shift as well around you and be more authentic around you, or they'll decide they can't handle that and they will go do what they want to do. And you'll allow other people in your lives that do resonate with where you are and what you're doing now, and how joyful and relaxed the holidays can be. They can. We don't have to survive the holidays. We can thrive and stay in a slower pace and in balance and in freedom and grounded. We truly, truly can. Even if you aren't crafty and you don't like to do all the artsy stuff I like to do, make it your holiday. Do what you like to do. I'm just introverted like that. I've just always loved sitting on my couch, stitching and knitting and drawing and playing and doing all those fun things. So go out, make this winter, this holiday, anything you want to be, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.